Today we're going to be talking about some questions that came up in the ESO training that we did a couple weeks ago. I want to start by saying that the tablets will have a deep freeze software on them, so anytime that they are restarted, they're going to go back to a default setting, so you'll lose everything that was on it. So you're going to need to sync your reports as soon as you can to the server so that you can access them online. So the CAD now is active. One thing that's going to be different than what we talked about at training is that the CAD is not going to show up until the call is closed like it currently does. You have a couple different options. You can do a new record and import the CAD, or you can import the CAD here. So you click CAD import. You can sort by unit at the top. If you do this on the mobile version, it auto sorts whatever you have your unit set to, so you won't have to select it every time. If you also do this on the mobile version, you'll auto set your shift, your level of care, your vehicle number, all that stuff when you preset your crew for the day. The only thing that doesn't come over right now that we're working on is the EMD complaint, so you'll have to go in there and tell it how you were dispatched, what the call was. You add your crew here if you're doing it on the web version. If you've done it on the mobile, that'll already be there. Your dispositions, we're trying to make this easy for you guys. Some of these are self-explanatory. Obviously, if you transport, how you transport it. If you got a refusal, the refusal. If you were canceled prior to arrival, obviously those are pretty easy. Some of the ones that what we're going to try and do is a unit assist. We're going to use if you were going to a call and you arrived on scene and the other unit got a refusal, whether it's ACFR or GFR or High Springs, any ALS provider that's allowed to get a refusal, the rescue can use unit assist as their disposition. Inversely, if the rescue transports, the engine will use unit assist, no matter if they provided treatment or not prior to the rescue's arrival. If you did provide treatment prior to the rescue's arrival, you need to notate that in the flow sheet. If it's found that no one is notating the treatment that they've done, unit assist will go away and we'll have to use a different disposition that requires input in those fields. The agency assist, we're going to use this when you have a patient in the care of a flight crew coming from the airport, and all that's going to require is some patient demographics, a set of vitals, and a little narrative. It's not a whole lot, but it's enough that we can bill off of. At the very bottom, you'll see transport non-patient or organs. So you're going to use this for organ transfers or when you're taking the crew back to the airport afterwards. If you're dispatched to a fire and you're the only ACFR unit going as a rescue, then you're going to have to do an EHR. And in that case, you would do a unit assist and then notate in the narrative whatever you were assigned, if you were assigned an operation or standby or whatever. If you are going to a fire and there is a ACFR suppression apparatus assigned as well, then you will go in and do a unit report on the fire side, and we will go over that as well. The hospitals, all the hospitals are listed under hospitals. That's so that if you do transport to a freestanding, we can still use the HDE link. If we list them under freestanding, you cannot do that. And that number will go here in the chart number. The NIFRS tab on an EMS call in an EHR report, the NIFRS tab is going to be separate for everyone. Everyone's going to have to do their own NIFRS tab, and you're only accounting for your unit. So if you're on the rescue, you're one EMS apparatus with 2 personnel or 3 personnel if you have 3 people. Each crew will do their own, and then it'll all add it up at the end on the backside. That is different from a fire report. We'll go over the fire reports. Patient demographic, same thing we talked about in training. Requires 2 of the 3 fields. We can't get around that. And it will import everything in the patient tab and then anything that's put into the billing tab. You'll be able to import from your monitor from the Zoll cloud. You'll click monitor import. This will show you devices all, or you can sort by devices that have active cases on the cloud. So you can sort by your unit and then look for the appropriate time and then import. So you'll get your vitals. If there was an EKG done, it would show up as well. And then you can go in and add the appropriate extra information that the monitor doesn't have. In the flowchart, if you defibrillated or paced or cardioverted, those events will come over here, and you'll be able to go through and add any information you want to those. Remember, in this area is where you're going to add your STEMI alerts, stroke alerts, trauma alerts, all that. They're under other, and they're near the bottom here. Make sure you add these if it's an alert patient. One thing to note, if the engine provided some sort of care, an IV or something prior to your arrival, you click prior to arrival, and then you can leave the provider blank. But in your narrative, you're going to need to write that all prior to arrival interventions were done by engine 60 or engine 40, or if you're picking them up from a freestanding, all prior to arrival events were done by the West End. The assessments, remember you have this quick AX to do no abnormalities if it's a pretty basic call. Make sure you go in and actually change them from not assessed to whatever you found. On the narrative tab, the impressions, make sure you get these as close as possible. If the patient was having chest pain and then you found that they were having a STEMI, make sure you notate that correctly and then what protocol you used. If you're doing this on the tablets, you'll be able to use the on-screen keyboard with the microphone button, and as long as you're clicked in here, it'll type what you say. The forms, we don't have any control over what these forms say. If you have a STEMI alert, we'd like for you to use the ACS form. If you have a stroke alert, use the stroke scale. If you have an MVC, use that one. You guys can follow along with that pretty well. The billing tab, I feel like we covered this pretty well in the training. Make sure you can put what information you have and try and help billing out there. In the signature tab, we did add a witness signature. This is a JPEG file that then you're writing over on the tablet. So in the printed box, you're gonna have to try and print their name as best you can so they can read it, and then they can sign at the bottom. In the little menu at the top, you'll see clinical guidelines. That's our protocols. Next, we'll go into the fire reports. To clarify, if an ACFR rescue and an ACFR suppression apparatus are going to a fire, the rescue will be able to do a unit report under the fire incidents, and the suppression apparatus will do the basic in-unit report for their unit. If there's no patient. If there's a patient, the rescue will have to do an EHR. If an ACFR rescue is going and is the only ACFR apparatus going to the fire, you will have to do an EHR. So on the fire side, you'll see everyone's calls like we talked about before. You'll import the CAD. You're not going to be able to start your fire report until the CAD is closed. So until the call is closed, you're not going to be able to start your report. So once you import the CAD, you'll be able to start your report. Fill out the required fields on this first side here. Make sure all the times came over. Here on the NIFR side, you're going to actually account for all of the apparatus that were on scene, because this is one report. On the EHR side, those are all separate reports. It will count the apparatus that is listed in the unit counts, and then you'll just have to add the personnel that were on those units. If any unit is dispatched, they are going to show up here. So if Rescue 30 was dispatched but 31 took the call, they're still going to show on here, and they're going to have a validation issue. So you're going to have to go open their unit report and come in here and click cancel prior to arrival, and that will take care of the validation issue. So if there were units canceled prior to responding, it's going to be the main report writer's job to go in and click cancel prior to arrival. And then at the very bottom, you just type in whatever you were assigned to do. At the top here in the little headset, this will be your call notes for this, for the fire side that has not come over on the EMS side currently. I hope this video was able to answer some questions that came up in the ESO training. If you run across any issues, feel free to reach out to ACFR ESO at alachuacounty.us.